You know when you're arguing with your mates at the pub or at a barbecue or at the footy about, which player was better and who was drafted and which was the better pick, what should you have done? There is a website called draftguru.com.au where you can get cold hard data on who was taken at which pick and how well they did in their careers. And it's created by this man, Dave Slutskin, thedraftguru.com.au. And today we're going to talk who are the 5 best draft steals of all time. How did you come up with draftguru.com.au?
I'm a bit of a footy nuffy.
That you're amongst friends.
And I love stats and numbers. And as of about 12 years ago, you couldn't get this information. You couldn't work out who was drafted when. Maybe there's a Wikipedia page. Maybe it's sort of somewhere. Couldn't work out who was traded. But I started digging up the data and putting it together. I built a few websites in my time. Mm-hmm. So I started to work out maybe there's a thing here, put it out to the community just as a pet project, which it continues to be. There's no money associated with this thing.
Yet.
But there's no money. There's never going to be any money associated with this. It's really just for the love of it. It's
draftguru.com.au, brought to you by Toyota.
Maybe we should sponsor the Saints.
Or do a Patreon or something. Come on. Anyway, we're not doing your business model. So you're able to list who got... So if I said to you, hey, Dave, who got pick 67 in 2009?
Oh.
In the first round. But you're able to do it. Look,
I can find that.
Here we go.
Pick 67.
Yeah, I just picked a random number.
Let's scroll down.
That was...
Jeremy Webley.
To Richmond.
Picked up. He played 16 games over 3 years and didn't quite make.
That's cool, but hey, good on you, Jeremy.
He did played 16 more games than I did.
Hell yeah, and me.
But also that's what you find when you look at late picks, right? You look at pick 67. Generally, they're not going to go anywhere.
Absolutely.
Except.
Okay, here we go. Number 5.
Some of the guys that we're looking at here have done amazing work, and this is one that I believe, Danny, would be pretty close to your heart. This is a guy called Matthew Boyd.
Yes.
Did he have a nickname? I don't remember.
His middle name was Keith, so he was always called Keith.
There you go.
But yes, one of the 2 best Boydies to ever play for the Bulldogs. But yeah, he was a captain during the dark times of the early teens for the Bulldogs, and just an absolute workhorse. When did we get him?
You picked him up in 2001, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
In the rookie draft. Rookie draft being after the national draft.
Yeah, explain that to us civilians.
Yeah, you get one shot. Everyone nominates for the draft, all the kids.
That's the national draft.
They nominate for the thing called the national draft.
Yep.
And maybe there's 60 or 80 picks, depending on what year it is. And then a bunch of players miss out. And there's another shot for those guys, which is the rookie draft, which used to happen a longer time after, and now it only happens the next day or the next couple of days after. And if you picked up on the rookie draft, you go on the rookie list, which means you get paid less, you get less job security, you get less contractual security, but you still have a shot at your dream, which is AFL.
And how many rookie spots does each club have?
The AFL makes it as complicated as they can.
Yeah, they really do.
But it's somewhere between 6 and 8.
Okay.
But you can sort of add the international guys to that if you grab someone from Ireland. Or if you grab someone from another sport like basketball, you can sort of add them on as well. So it's somewhat complicated. It's not necessarily...
Carmichael Hunt was on Gold Coast rookie list. Was he?
I don't know if he was actually, because he was on the original list. But that sort of guy is exactly who you're talking about. Or Mason Cox, another one like that.
Okay.
So Matty Boyd was picked up in 2001. He was 2 spots ahead of Nathan Bock in the rookie draft.
Okay.
At pick number 23. And pick 23 is pretty late in the rookie draft.
Yeah.
Right? There's probably, at that point, 100 guys who've been taken before you. So you're not really top of anyone's list at that point. That said, in the rookie draft that same year, Aaron Sandilands was picked up a few picks later.
Oh, yeah.
Ben Rutten was picked up a few picks later. Went on to be a distinguished senior coach.
Mm-hmm.
Martin Matner was picked up a little bit later. And these guys all played 200 games. So this was actually a really good year for the rookie draft. But Matty Boyd, the best of them by far. Sorry, Keith. Was the best of them by far.
Yeah.
He played 292 games for the Dodgers. Is anyone who's played more than that?
Brad Johnson, Dougie Hawkins, Chris Grant, Scott West, Rowan Smith.
Quite a few, actually. Yeah. So he's near the top of the list, but he's not exactly the top. He was All-Australian 3 times, including in a premiership year. And as a Saints supporter, I know the premiership years are relatively rare, so it's pretty impressive.
Look, yeah, an absolute hero to any Bulldogs fan, and I'm so stoked he's made this list.
Picked 23 in the rookie draft. So if you're one of the kids who gets picked up in the rookie draft this year, definitely don't give up. You could be Matty Boyd or one of the top 4 in our list.
And who is number 4?
Number 4 of the best draft steals of all time is a guy called Jeremy McGavin, who was picked up even later in the rookie draft.
Which year?
Than Matty Boyd was. In 2010, he was picked up at pick number 44 in the rookie draft.
Wow.
He was the last guy to do very much of anything at all. I'm just looking through this list. Will Langford was picked up at 85 in the rookie draft. That's pretty late.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
That's pretty late. And he wanted to plant a flag, notably, and then retire because he was done. But Jeremy McGavin, he's now been 1, 2, 3, 4, and including this year, he's now 5-time All-Australian. Oof. He's had a few years, last couple of years, we've all forgotten how good he was to some extent because he got injured a bit over the last few years. And admittedly, West Coast haven't been going quite as well as they had in their heyday. Mm-hmm. But he's actually won his first best and fairest as well this year. He hadn't won one before. In those days when he was winning AAs, they were being won by Luke Shuey and Gaff and people like that. Mm-hmm. And he's played now 191 games, which isn't actually that many considering he's 5 times All-Australian.
Yeah.
And he's been on the list for a long time. So he's actually had a bunch of injuries. He hasn't been the most reliable necessarily getting on the field.
But when he's there, you get bang for your buck.
He's unstoppable in defence. He still takes those intercept marks. And we can see that this year at the age of 32, he's still taking a bunch of intercept marks. So Jeremy McGavin, pick 44 in the rookie draft.
Yeah, that's a steal.
That's a pretty good pickup for West Coast.
Number 3, biggest steal in the draft.
It's West Coast again.
What? Oh, come on.
They've done pretty well with the rookie draft, and as some would say, it's because they hide players out in Western Australia, and they're in the waffle, and then they say, maybe mate, just take the second half of the season off.
So really? Go play in Kalgoorlie pub league or something.
Just have a few drinks and don't worry too much about the second half of the year because they know they're going to pick them up. This was a guy who was picked up at number 28 in a rookie draft in 1999, so even before Matty Boyd. This is back in the good old days of the rookie draft. A lot was happening around that time. Also picked up in the rookie draft that same year was a guy called Stephen Milne.
Okay,
very close to my heart as a Saints supporter. Kicked 500 odd goals. But that's not who we're talking about today. We're talking about a guy called Dean Cox.
Of course.
He played 290 games for West Coast. He was 6 times All-Australian.
Jeez.
He won a best and fairest. He won a flag. That's a pretty solid career for a guy who he was pretty much unstoppable in the ruck during his time. That's why he was a perennial All-Australian.
Yeah. Because
no one could stand up against him in that sort of mid-noughties period. He was just the guy. And they picked him up at 28 in the rookie draft. And he also did that thing, which it was just starting to be a thing then, of being the loping ruckman who could get around the ground and actually get the footy.
Yeah.
As opposed to the classic Justin Madden style of, hit it a lot of times, maybe have 6 or 8 handballs a game, and that was about it.
Yeah,
so
take
Dean
a few
Cox
marks.
was very different.
Yeah, it's a good steal. Damn you, West Coast. Why do you always do this? What do we have to? Number 2.
Number 2. We're going to give you 2 players now at number 2 and number 1 who were both picked up at number 58 in the national draft.
Okay, so we're not rookie draft, so this is still...
This is a little earlier in the draft, but 58, there's still 57 guys that were preferred ahead of you.
Yeah, and was this third round, second round?
It's third round, depending on the year. It's
yep.
about third round. This is a guy who won a few Brownlow medals.
Oh, really?
Well, he won 1 Brownlow medal. He was All-Australian a few times. He won a premiership. His name's Dane Swan. If you're a Collingwood fan out there, you might remember him if you're one of the younger ones. Yeah, this was a little while ago now. His heyday was sort of 2010 to 2013. 2016.
Okay, feels like he was more recent than that.
He's one of those guys, I reckon, who retired in his prime because he was kind of a bit bored with footy.
Yeah.
He probably could have gone on a couple more years, I reckon, based on what I remember of when he was retiring. He was in the AA squad just the year before he retired. But this guy picked up late in the draft. He played 258 odd games. He got a huge number of Brownlow votes throughout his career. He was constantly getting 20 plus Brownlow votes. Admittedly, that sounded like a lot more at the time than it does in a year when it's just been won by Paddy Cripps getting 45. But back in the old days, 20 or 30 Brownlow votes was a lot.
Yeah.
Dane Swan got the record number of Brownlow votes the year he won it, which was 34 at the time.
No one will ever beat that.
No one will ever beat that. Can't be beaten. And then it was. But he was picked up late in that draft at pick 58. And he turned out to be a pretty good player.
He was a damn good player, a real excitement machine. And probably the only player on this list to also win I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here.
I actually don't have that in my database.
Do you not?
But maybe I should add it in, I suspect.
And the best draft steal of all time, I reckon this one's pretty obvious.
Especially this year. Because this guy just won a premiership.
Yeah.
He was All-Australian this year.
Yeah.
He didn't win the Brownlow this year.
What a dud.
He won the Brownlow last year. He won the Brownlow 4 years ago. So he's going all right. I don't reckon he needs too much of our sympathy. He has played at 2 different clubs, which I reckon is probably going to be forgotten by the end of his career because he's going to go down as a Brisbane legend. His name's Lachie Neale.
Yes.
Originally drafted by Freo at pick 58, as I said. Dane Swan also drafted at pick 58.
Yeah, okay.
I reckon that pick is probably doing better in terms of premierships and other accolades than most of St Kilda's list all time.
Who's got pick 58 this year?
Well,
but you can do this on draftguru.com.au.
We can find this out, but I tell you what, you're not going to know that until the day of the draft.
Right. Oh no, Sydney! Oh.
But in this day and age, every pick gets traded multiple times.
Right.
Because they bounce them around and someone needs points for this and etc. So, but I reckon there'll be a bit of a premium placed on pick 58 for all of those reasons. Because you might get the next Lachie Neale. He was too little for footy, really. He was only 176 and he wasn't hugely built at the time when he was drafted. He did all right at Freo in the early days. Played in the grand final in his second season. Admittedly, Freo got thumped in that grand final.
They just didn't show up, and almost Hawthorn didn't either. But if you want to learn about that, check out the worst grand finals with Rocket Eade.
It's definitely not one of the premium games of our time. But then he improved a lot. He won a couple of best and fairest at Freo, and he was in the All-Australian.
So who did they trade? Who did they get for Lachie Neale?
Well, the trade was that...
and you can check this out.
Check it out on Draft Guru. Brisbane got Lachie Neale and a pick that they ended up using on Tom Berry.
Okay.
Also premiership player.
Yeah.
And Freo got some picks and then on-traded a bunch of them. They got the pick that Gold Coast ended up using for Ben King, which was pick 6, and the pick that GWS ended up using on Xavier O'Halloran, which was pick 19, and the pick that the Saints ended up using on Nick Hind.
Okay, so did Freo get anything out of this?
Well, no, they get those picks and then they trade them on to other people, and this stuff all it gets complicated at that level.
Yeah, it
they
really
thought,
does.
oh well, it's better for us to trade on the pick 6 and we'll get something amazing out of that. But there are some clubs, I think it's fair to say that historically, some clubs have done better at list management than others. Yeah. Freo aren't necessarily in that list of those who've done better at list management. And trading away Lachie Neale for pretty much anything would count as that. Now, the understanding is that he was done at the club, that he wasn't super happy anymore and he wanted to get out of Perth and, reasons. Who knows? Again, Lachie, if you're watching, give us a call and we can talk about it and talk through those reasons. But he went on to be all right at Brisbane. He's won the best and fairest 3 times.
Wow.
He's been All-Australian 4 times. He's won 2 Brownlows. And he was pretty handy in getting them to a flag this year.
Yeah. I agree. That is probably the best draft steal of all time. Well done, Lachie. And that is Dave Slutskin, the Draft Guru's list. Do you reckon there's any better draft picks? Steals? I mean, let us know. Comment away, my friends. Like, subscribe, send it to your friends. You can become a member now of my channel. I got monetized, so... that's a thing you can do. They say to mention it, and some people might actually do it. I've also got merch. They're just really for Bulldogs fans, but if you like my old banners, give it a go. And thanks for watching. Check out draftguru.com.au. It's a great rabbit hole to go down.